What is going on, Ship It Nation YouTube station? We are back bright and early on Saturday morning. We got a handful of hours until lock. Last week, I started this video about this time, and it felt like the response was good, and I feel like this is a very good start and kind of first thought process getting ready for the slate. Tonight's DraftKings slate is just 4 games with some weird start times. Here on the West Coast, we're going to start at 4. Then we're going to wait an hour and start another game at 5. And then we're going to get 7 and 7:30. So quite a spread out slate as far as that goes. Like I said, only 4 games and only one of these teams is playing on a back-to-back. So we're able to really throw out this video and give you some first thought process on the slate with some real confidence. So we're going to keep doing this. I mean, I don't know how many more Saturdays we have left. Might be one of the last ones. So I appreciate everybody that's watched throughout the season. Hopefully gotten a lot better as the season's gone on, kind of the first season that I've ever done one of these. So I appreciate all the positive feedback and appreciate everybody watching, liking, subscribing, all that stuff. First and foremost, let's get it out of the way. Shout out to our boy Rio, aka Hebrew Cheetah. He was out there this weekend. I know they had the live final last night. You know, he had a really good lineup, and I really liked the way that he built his lineup in comparison for the live final. I'm sure not the outcome that he wanted, but nonetheless, a great showing from him and what we've seen all season. So no surprises there. Let's get into this 4-game slate here. I'm going to finish this, jump over to the slate plan. Like I said, this slate isn't very, there won't be very much breaking news as we kind of continue throughout the day. Like I said, one team on a back-to-back, and it is the Wizards, and they're a team we can essentially cross off, in my opinion, when we get to that game, just because of the way that they're kind of tanking and running their rotations nowadays. Pretty unfortunate to see. First of all, if you guys haven't heard, we are with SaberSim. I'm going to throw this up on the screen here. If you're interested in one of these packages, it's changed the game. I mean, I know a handful of us here at SHIPIT have always used this since the starting days. We've become really comfortable with it if we haven't used it. And we're seeing some really positive feedback in the Discord and from the subscribers. So take a look at this chart. I mean, I would recommend, if you're not playing a ton of money, don't jump into one of these starter or ultimate packages. Get the core. Gives the ability to get the content and, be able to use SaberSim and make 150 lineups. If you're playing, hundreds or thousands of dollars a week, starter or ultimate would definitely be the packages that you want to attack. But when we heard the news here at SHIPIT that we were switching to Saber about a month ago, I would say, we were all very excited because of the potential it has to make just excellent lineups with just a few clicks of the button. So if you're not a member, go ahead and jump in there. Oh, let's get the right overshare. No. There we go. Okay, 4-game slate on DraftKings. I mean, we have some interesting games as far as the Bucks and the Kings, Warriors and Hawks, and Bulls and Lakers. This Wizards and Knicks games, I can go ahead and cross off. Pretty similar totals. The Bucks and the Kings game and the Wizards and the Knicks game are both 223 totals. The Knicks are favored by 15.5, so that's going to become kind of a blowout discussion. But when we get to Warriors and Hawks and Bulls and Lakers, 2.5, 333.5, and 9.5, 234.5. I think both those games you stay relatively close, and we, don't need to build 4 blowouts. We'll start here with the easy news. Well, let's go broad slate. I apologize. So we know Brunson's out. We know Sabonis is out. We know Koulibaly's out. We know Capella's out, Brogdon Ball. But the big news kind of here and how we're going to take advantage on the slate is there is no Curry and there is no Dame on this slate. So when we hear and we look at this Warriors team, there will be some opportunities to kind of take all of that usage that is disappearing off of the floor. Warriors and Hawks, 2.5 point total, or I'm sorry, 2.5 point spread and 233.5 total. We saw what this Warriors lineup looked like a few times this season, but I'm interested to see whether or not they end up starting post. They're at 3,600 to kind of compete with the Hawks size with Gay and Okongwu on the other side. Or if they go smaller and throw Buddy Hield into the lineup, I wouldn't be surprised about that too. I agree. As of now, it's best to look at it with post starting at 3,600. No real surprises here. I mean, Jimmy, he shot 4 for 15 from the field the last game without Curry and still triple-doubled. Pods has taken a handful of shots. Moody's inserted into the lineup. Draymond Green's price is coming up. And like I said, Quentin Post at 3,600. I think you can go anywhere here on this Warriors team as far as the starting five, and then Buddy Hield off of the bench. We do have Gary Payton tonight with a questionable tag. I think Buddy Hield is already a good play, but I think comes an excellent play if we do get confirmation that Gary Payton is out tonight as the day moves on. I mean, my favorite's definitely going to be Jimmy Butler in kind of the mid to high tier at 8,500. Like I said, 4 for 15 from the field, but was still able to squeak out the triple-double. If he's able to produce something like that and hit a few more shots, I mean, he might be a must-have on this slate. Quentin Post getting the start at 3,600. I mean, his minutes have been there, and we know he can produce fantasy points when he's on the floor. He'll become a very popular value play throughout the day. And I think whether or not he ends up getting the start, I think even if he comes off the bench, he could still see those low to mid 20s in minutes in this matchup. So he will be a very popular value play today. I can get behind some pods at 6K. You know, like I said, taking a handful of shots, getting the minutes, especially if Jimmy Butler, does want a triple-double again and get those assists up. He'll definitely have some open looks. Moody and Draymond Green are going to be kind of secondary plays for me on this Warriors side. Moody at 4,900, we know he's not the best fantasy point per minute producer. And at 4,900, it makes it a real tough roster, even on a 4-game slate. Draymond Green at 6,700. I like Draymond when Curry's on the floor. I think they play really well together. You get increased assists. He kind of knows where Steph's misses are going. I'm not necessarily sure. I mean, Draymond's like I know ball. I always want to play him in spots I know he's going to be fired up. I don't know how he'll be fired up against this Hawks team, but who knows? He may step up with no Curry, but he'll be a secondary play for me. And like I alluded to earlier, 4,100 for Buddy Hield. He'll be very popular and a good play if he does get in the start, or excellent play if he does make the starting lineup over Post. But if he does not, I'm still okay with him off of the bench at 4,100 with some good upside. Jumping over to the Hawks side, I'm going to take Ricochet out of my pool today. And I think this is something that, we've seen, it's cost me on a few slates. It's cost me, or hasn't cost me on a handful of other slates. This is some guy that we anticipate to get 30 minutes. And, the field agrees. I think this is a good time to really get some extra minutes for him as the season is winding down. 4,600 is not enough if he plays into the 30s. Not necessarily the best shooter. He has been shooting better. But we haven't really seen his minutes fluctuate so much that, if he's going to gather some ownership as the day moves on, I mean, I'm okay with the fade at 4,600. We can definitely find some better options. And then Gay, never really in play at 3,400. Specifically in this matchup, we'll probably be getting Post or Green or maybe even Jimmy in some situations. Absolutely no thank you. Okongwu at 7,600, he just keeps playing great. Capella's off, can't play. He's off the floor with an injury. He just keeps producing at 7,600. Yes, price is coming up. We've seen him in the low sevens. I am definitely okay in this match tonight with Okongwu at 7,600. Probably my favorite play by a little bit over Trey and Dyson at 9,900 and 7K. I think both of these guys are definitely going to be like your 1B primary plays on the Hawks team. I wouldn't go as far down as a secondary play. Trey Young above 10 or under 10K at 9,900. We know the double-double upside. We know the point upside. I think this is a really good spot for him at home versus the Warriors. A good team total, a good game total, a nice close game. I think he could have a big night tonight. And then as for Dyson, same thing. He's been scoring the basketball, throughout the start of the season. We kind of looked at him as like a driver and a stock guy that defended the best player on the other team. But he's really elevated the way that I think about him, specifically as a fantasy player, being able to produce so well on the fantasy side of things, playing huge minutes and guarding the best player. I think moving forward, if his price stays, below that $7,500 mark, he's certainly in play essentially every time that he plays. So Okongwu's from the starting five is definitely my favorite play. Trey and Dyson are not far behind him. And then talking down on the bench, I mean, Levert and Niang will be coming, into play. I mean, if you're not comfortable with some of the 3K value and you want to get off some of these chalkier value options, I think Niang at 4,200 is going to go under the radar. Hasn't been shooting the best over the last few games, but we know when he gets the minutes, is able to hit shots. He could destroy tags at 42. Levert, he's probable tonight, coming back from injury, 5,200. I think he's okay, but in a situation where Buddy Hield is in play, I think I like Buddy more, but definitely somebody that you can get to. Moving on, Wizards and Knicks. Like I said, 15.5 point spread, 223 total. The Wizards played last night, and kind of been the story over the last few nights is these starters are not getting, finishing run. I think they're going into the little tank shell. I don't know how that would necessarily work in a 15.5 point spread. I don't think there's really a need to do it. But nonetheless, whether they're tanking or if this game does get out of hand, we could, chop off guys like Jordan Poole, Keyshawn George, Alex Sarr, Bub Carrington. Obviously, Koulibaly is not in the mix here. The only person that I didn't name in that group from the starting five would be AJ Johnson and Champagnie. Champagnie was one of the only starters. Well, I guess AJ Johnson too, but we won't count him. That got some fourth quarter run or some meaningful fourth quarter run last night. He continues to get some minutes. I guess he's okay at 5,100 if you're looking for pieces to run back in this Knicks game or you want some Wizards exposure. He'll be okay with me at 5,100, but I can't get to Poole, George, Sarr, Bub. None of those guys. They're just not getting the extra run. They're not getting that last rotation that's so meaningful to what their tags are. So I'll be full stay away. AJ Johnson, again, just playing huge minutes, 4,600. He's very scoring dependent. So if you roster him, you have to know that he's probably going to have to score 20 real-life points to be able to keep you in the mix as far as your lineup goes. And then after that, we got Little Vuk at 4,400. I don't mind him. We obviously know that he's up to 1.31 fantasy point per minute. He's an okay play. I think, not necessarily the best spot with Cat on the other side if he does get some of that run, and then Mitchell Robinson off the bench. But he would probably be, my favorite Wizard. But really tough to get to this team in general. We don't know what their rotations are going to be. It's a huge spread. We know the Knicks, are going to run their starters out for a very long time. So I'm okay on a 4-game slate, kind of getting to none of these Wizards. Now, as the slate moves on, we might get a few, injury notes, and that may change things. But as of right now, no thank you on the Wizards side. Jumping over to the Knicks, the interesting news here is Deuce McBride at 5,600 is questionable tonight. So we'll talk through the two scenarios of how things work. Let's pretend that he's in to start. 5,600 is going to be kind of that fringe value or the low bottom part of the mid tier. I think he's an excellent play at 5,600. Not producing amazing over these games that he started, but we know his upside, and at 5,600 on a 4-game slate, there are definitely worse places that you can go. Like I said, if he's in, Karl-Anthony Towns will also be in play for me at 10K. Yes, we have concerns of a blowout. Yes, they're, in the fourth quarter, if the game is 10 or 12 to start the fourth quarter and the Wizards trot out some of these backup guys, I think this game could really elevate to into the mid-20s very fast. And if that's the case, you're going to have to play the guessing game on if these starters will get, their usual Tibbs run. I would lean that, I wouldn't be too concerned of the blowout. I think, obviously if it blows out and they, score 120 points tonight, 125 points tonight, and the Wizards are flirting with 100, I still think that these guys are all going to produce enough. Not all of them, but the guys, like Cat, Deuce McBride, maybe some OG at 68, then I'll be okay with it. But like I said, if Deuce is in, it's going to be Deuce and Karl-Anthony Towns for me. And then as a secondary play, OG at 68. OG specifically has been scoring the ball really well, kind of, not necessarily his MO with the other guys on the floor, but he's gotten a handful of games into the 20 real life. And at 6,800, add some stocks, add, a bunch of missed shots from the Wizards where he's able to get a handful of rebounds, being able to score some real life points. I think, he's going to be an okay play at 6,800. If Deuce is out tonight, that'll assert Campaign into the starting lineup at 3,100. That kind of changes things for me. Then I still like Cat a lot, but I think, Josh Hart may kind of come into our lives at 8,100. Again, another guy like Bridges that isn't playing the best since this Brunson injury news. But we know his upside. We know he has triple-double upside, specifically in these spots where the team isn't 100%. I think, if Deuce does miss, I think it increases a little bit of assist potential. And at 8,100, there's going to be avenues to get a little bit different on a 4-game slate. And I think he's an avenue for that. Definitely tough to get to Bridges, in my opinion, not necessarily playing great. 6,200 is a real tag. On a 4-game slate, things change a little bit, but you're going to want to get at least 36, 37 fantasy points from him to make it worth it to roster. And I think unless he really, scores the ball really well, it'll be really tough for me to get there. The last guy that I'll speak about here on the Knicks side that I haven't talked about yet is Mitchell Robinson at 3,100. His minutes are steadily climbing. 3,100 is just simply too cheap for a guy that, in 18, 17 minutes has 30, 35-point fantasy upside. So he will be a popular play tonight, specifically if Post doesn't get the start and people are a little scared off with that. So I will mention him. I think regardless of how this game turns out, I think, he can get somewhere between 18 and 22 minutes. And if he does get the ceiling end of that, we know he's got some real upside to get you into the 30s. So a GPP play coming off the bench for sure, but I think this is a matchup that we specifically can't attack it. Halfway done here, 4 games, 2 down, 2 to go. Bucks at the Kings. 2-point spread here. Kings are favored by 2, 223.5 total. Like I said, the big news here, as we all know, Sabonis is out. I think it's for at least 10 days from a couple of days ago. And then Dame is out. We saw how this Bucks team played when Dame was out. Rollins did get the start. Kyle Kuzma actually shot really efficiently from the field. He's down to 5,400, so he becomes interesting. Obviously, Giannis at 12K, he's going to be in play. Specifically with Dame out, we know he's going to be able to shoot the basketball. He's going to get a few extra shots at the rim. I think this is also a spot with Dame off the floor that his assists could rise a little bit. But a nice close spread, so I think he gets full run here at 12K. 12K, if you don't like the other studs, then he's going to be okay. But if you find yourself in a position where, you like other studs, I think you can get out. But he will be popular, as he always is. But 12K is a real number, as we've kind of seen DraftKings bump up all of these studs over the last few days. Ryan Rollins at 3,800 will be very, very popular. Obviously much more popular than Kevin Porter Jr. And I think Kevin Porter Jr. off the bench at 4K offers some GPP kind of zig when the field zags type stuff. But I am very comfortable with Ryan Rollins at 3,800. We know in these spots he gets the minutes and can produce. So I like him, just too cheap for the role that he's going to have. Kyle Kuzma, price is down, 5,400. Really tough play mentally, as we've seen how bad he's been over the last, month and a half since he's been with the Bucks. But actually, like I said, shooting really well from the field the last couple of games. And I think 5,400, he could kind of replace the Bobby Portis role type, not like Bobby Portis, but kind of get used to those builds where we used to throw Giannis and Bobby together, or Dame and Bobby when Giannis would miss. I think, he fits that role very nicely at 5,400. So I do like him. I like him much more than Brook Lopez at 5,300. I think Brook and Giannis, not that Giannis is going to, his production will change as much, but Valanciunas down low is no softy. So kind of off the Brook stuff. I think, obviously Brook shoots a lot of threes, but I think Valanciunas may be able to get out there and kind of defend some of those. So not really a Brook guy, rather go 100 more to Kyle Kuzma. Prince is going to pop in some optimals and some value sections here at 3,700. Playing big minutes, may get an extra, shot or two with Dame off the floor. Don't love it, but worth a mention at 3,700. I see a lot of builds tonight going Rollins, Kuz, Giannis, and then picking a king to run back on. I think you could, eat up a ton of this team production if you do end up going that route, with Ryan Rollins playing huge minutes and outside, mispriced for what the role he has. Giannis, triple-double alert, if he's able to get a few early assists, and then Kyle Kuzma taking double-digit shots and being specifically productive could be a really, really, interesting build, and I think very popular. For the Kings side, man, I wish we had a play that we really loved in this position. Obviously, Sabonis is out. Monk's been playing outstanding. He's played outstanding. Levine missed a game. 8,100. He'll be my favorite, just kind of how hot he's been and how well he's playing, and the cheapest of the three between him, DeRozan, and Levine. But it's really just a coin toss for me. I think, as I'll write this in the slate plan, I think they're all projecting the same. They all have the same upside. They all have the same floors. I think Levine probably is my least favorite as the most expensive and the lowest floor of the bunch. DeRozan's floor is very high, but not much upside. And I think Monk provides both of those for the cheapest. So I'll go Monk, DeRozan, Levine. And I think that will be kind of a popular way of looking at it. But we're going to want some pieces to run back, or at least a piece to run back from this Kings team. I think with the prices that they have, it will only become one. Getting to two is really tough with how high they're priced. But it's going to be Monk and DeRozan for me. And then if Levine beats me tonight at almost 9K, Levine beats me. Keegan Murray is also at 5,900, kind of popping in some value stuff on Saber. And if you change his projection a little bit, you'll get a lot of them if making 150 teams. I don't love it. Tougher matchup on the other side with Kuz, Giannis, Brook Lopez, depending on how the rotations work and depending on who's matched up on as the ball comes down the floor. Don't like him, but people will get to him, which is kind of weird to me. But yeah, it is what it is. Valanciunas 7,700. Damn, man. I mean, it's just too expensive for me. I think you have more upside and a higher floor when picking between Monk, DeRozan, and Levine than you do going down to Valanciunas. I mean, he may get some ownership tonight, which, I do understand because we've seen him have 50-point upside, but I don't think this is the spot for me tonight. Trey Lyles down there at 3,600, he's, going to play some of those backup center minutes and get some run like he did last time out. I think there's better options at 3,600. Bulls and Lakers to round out the slate. Lakers 9.5-point favorites with a 234.5 total. Josh Giddey's going to be back into our lives. Trey Jones is questionable tonight. And Herter is probable. On the other side, LeBron is questionable, Rui's questionable, and Gabe Vincent is questionable. I think we'll start there on the Lakers side because the news is more important. I think it's very easy to distinguish. This is the latest game on the slate, so we may not have the news. I think you're going to have to make your decision by the start of this Bucks and Kings game if we do not get word that LeBron is in or out. Obviously, if LeBron is out, I'm loading up Luka again at 12-6. High floor, high upside. Great matchup with the Bulls. I think he's a much better play than Giannis if LeBron is out. Let's say hypothetically that we don't have the news and you insert Giannis into your lineups. Or I'm sorry, let's say that it's 6:45 on the West Coast, 15 minutes to the start of this Bucks and Kings game, and 45 minutes to the start of this Bulls and Lakers game. And you want to play Luka. We don't have word on LeBron. Obviously in a utility, you'll have Luka. And I think by necessity, you'll have to go down to Giannis at 12K, leaving 600 on the table if you build out your lineups to 50K, which I don't mind. I mean, there's worse places that you can go. So I would definitely want to make that decision before the Bucks game if we don't have word on the LeBron stuff. I personally think LeBron, plays Saturday night at home. He gets the Bulls. I think this is kind of an easy spot for LeBron to come back. Everybody saw the video of him warming up full court, full speed. So I would anticipate him being back after the absence of the past few weeks. So, but if you are in a position where you think he may sit and it does come down to a game time decision, Luka will be in your utilities and then you make the decision to go to Giannis. I think that's great. If LeBron's in, obviously Luka at 12-6 is a pretty tough roster. You could make the case that LeBron, kind of comes back and becomes like a secondary offensive piece and kind of becomes more of a distributor. Maybe doesn't get the full minutes that he would think. And then especially if this game blows out, I think it's easy for him to get in game shape. So I wouldn't see very much late run from him. But yeah, so if LeBron's in, no Luka for me, no Reeves at 91, obviously. Rui coming back after a few game absence at 5,700. No thanks. Jackson Hayes okay at 5K, I guess. I mean, maybe LeBron on the floor really opens up those, pick and rolls hit for him and Luka. So I'd be okay with that. And then as far as the bench goes, I think all these guys have gotten the increases when LeBron and Rui have been off of the floor, that it makes it really tough to make a case if LeBron's in for any of these guys. If LeBron's out, the whole bottom part, of the bench is in. Vanderbilt, DFS, Connect. We'll wait on the Gabe Vincent stuff. But like I said, it's a 4-game slate and we have value. So it'll be really tough for me to make a case for any of these guys if LeBron is out. And like I said, I'd rather just go Luka and eat it and keep moving forward. Jumping back over to that Bulls side, Giddey coming back at 86, really hurts White, obviously, now that he's up to 8K. Trey Jones is questionable tonight. I would anticipate him sitting, and then they're gonna bump Waiter up into the starting lineup at 5,600. Makes it really tough to get to any of these guys, essentially, aside from Vooch. I mean, Vooch, his minutes are continuing to climb. 7-3 is too cheap, just too cheap. He will be popular. Can't wait to see how popular he'll be, but 7,300 is a good roster, I think, with the minutes getting up into the 30s. So I really like Vooch. But Giddey at 86, White at 8K. If Trey Jones is in the lineup, which I don't think he will be, but if he does, we'll see if he even starts. At 63, that'll be tough. I guess Buzelis is okay at 46. And then even if Waiter gets into the starting lineup at 5,600, it'd be really tough. So I'll kind of keep it short, the Bulls. I mean, if we get to builds where we want to get some Lakers, I think Vooch is by far and away the best play. And I think the field will definitely agree on that. All right, guys, I think we went through everything here. One more time to kind of go through it all. Ryan Rollins is going to get the start for Dame. The Curry stuff, we'll get that news early before the slate starts, just to verify. I think that starting lineup stays the same, which is going to make Post and Ryan Rollins some of the most popular plays on the slate. If we're looking for some different kind of value, We have to wait on the Deuce stuff. If Deuce is out, Campaign will get inserted into the value section at 3,100. But I think, if all that news does come through, those are three pieces that we feel very comfortable with. Kind of the low 3Ks, the mid 3Ks, and then the high 3Ks. If you're looking to get off that, Mitchell Robinson in a blowout with his minutes continuing to climb and in a good spot at 3,100 may be interesting to you. Prince at 3,700 could be really interesting to people who's getting the minutes. Obviously not a great DFS roster, but, we've seen some upside from him, a little bit more than what we thought this season. And we're going to wait on the LeBron stuff, the Deuce McBride stuff, and even the Trey Jones stuff. We'll throw that in there. Lastly, if Gary Payton was to miss, regardless if Post or Buddy is starting for the Warriors, I think Buddy could still be a good play. Appreciate the watch. Kept it under 30 minutes. I know we had 4 games. We don't have a bunch of injury news aside from those ones I just spoke about. I am going to jump over and knock out the slate plan here. I'll be in Discord all day with any questions, so reach out. And once again, congratulate my boy Hebrew if you haven't already. Good showing out there in Arizona, and I'm excited to see what he's got cooked up for the rest of the year going into baseball, and see if we can slide in some more winners before the end of the NBA season. Again, guys, thank you. Like, subscribe, throw a comment down there, and then let me know if we like these early kind of first thought processes slate 6-8 hours before slate locks. But appreciate it, guys. Good luck in your contest, and let's ship it.